All right, we're back here on SportsLine, switching gears a little bit to talk some college basketball now. Of course, championship week well underway. Bids already being punched around the country, and pretty soon we get into the big conference tournaments. The SEC tournament tipping off tomorrow here at Bridgestone Arena in Nashville. Mississippi State, Auburn tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. Down there in Smashville, followed by South Carolina and Missouri in the second game. Then you got 4 games coming up on Thursday starting at noon. The marquee game Thursday night, 10th seed Tennessee against 7th seed Vanderbilt. That is the first time those two rivals have met in the SEC tournament since way back in 1987. You know, remember, they did it by divisions for a long time, which is the reason for that. You crossed over most of the time in this tournament, and they never advanced far enough together where they would play. But finally meeting in the tournament Thursday night, 6 o'clock at Bridgestone Arena. That should be a fun atmosphere. The winner of that game moves on to take on 2-seed Arkansas Friday night, same time, 6 o'clock there at Bridgestone Arena. The 4 teams with double byes to the quarterfinals on Friday. Of course, top seed Kentucky, 31-0, 9 wins away from the perfect season. 4 seed LSU, 2 seed Arkansas, and then 3 seed Georgia, all having the double bye, which means they just have to win 3 games to take home the SEC tournament title. The championship game, of course, coming up Sunday afternoon there at Bridgestone Arena. Now, down in Birmingham, you have the Conference USA tournament. That tips off tomorrow as well with 4 games, the first-round games. And those games include Middle Tennessee taking on Charlotte, 6-seed Blue Raiders against 11-seed Charlotte. That game at 2:30 down in Birmingham. The winner of that game will get 3-seed Old Dominion on Friday. The Monarchs are a team that has a great RPI profile, and I think has a legitimate shot with a couple wins in this tournament to get into the NCAA tournament as an at-large team, so certainly they will be motivated. Although everybody in this tournament should be motivated because, for the most part, everybody's playing for that automatic bid. Western Kentucky is the 5 seed in the Conference USA tournament. The Hilltoppers will meet Marshall tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. Marshall, the lowest seeded team in to the Conference USA tournament, so the Hilltoppers hopefully able to advance past that one, and then they will get UAB in Birmingham Friday night at 6 o'clock. The top seed in Conference USA is Louisiana Tech. They are one of the 4 teams with the bye into the quarterfinals. UTEP is the 2 seed. That semifinal game potentially between UTEP and Old Dominion could be a really good game. Of course, Middle Tennessee hoping to take care of that. Just keep winning down there. Beat Charlotte, beat Old Dominion, get into that semifinal game, take care of that matchup, and of course keep their season alive as they try to get that automatic bid as well. Quick look at the women's bracket as well. Both of the area teams with the top 2 seeds in the Conference USA women's bracket, also down there in Birmingham. Western Kentucky, the regular season outright champion, is the 1 seed. Middle Tennessee is the 2 seed. The Blue Raiders will play 1:30 Thursday afternoon against the winner of either Louisiana Tech or Florida Atlantic. The Lady Toppers will get the winner of the 8-9 game, which is Charlotte and Marshall. The women's championship game comes up Saturday night, 7 o'clock. You can see that on CBS Sports Network if you're interested. Both of the semifinals on CBS Sports Network as well. Middle Tennessee, if they play, would be Friday, 10 a.m. Western Kentucky, if they get there, would be Friday, 12:30 in the afternoon. The men's semifinals, 3 o'clock. That would be Middle Tennessee, 3 o'clock on CBS Sports Network Friday afternoon. The second semifinal, which would be where Western Kentucky would be if they get there, 5:30 Friday afternoon. And the men's title game, 2:30 in the afternoon. Thank God they finally got rid of the 10 a.m. tip-off for the Conference USA Championship game. 2:30 p.m. on Saturday, and that will be on FS1 this year. Having a little issue trying to get a hold of Kermit Davis, who is down in Birmingham as his team gets set for Charlotte tomorrow in the Conference USA tournament. So right now, let's go to the interview that I did with Steve Prohm on Sunday Sports Central. This is the complete portion of the interview where he dives into that heartbreaking loss against Belmont over the weekend in the OVC championship game. The fact his team will not get the automatic bid, but he still firmly believes that the Racers deserve an at-large bid into the NCAA tournament. Here is Steve Prohm talking Murray State basketball. And we're joined now by the head coach of Murray State, Steve Prohm. Steve, I told you last night that was one of the best games I have ever seen in person. Such high-level shot making on both sides. Unfortunately, somebody had to lose it, and it was your side. When you got into the locker room, what was your message to your team?
Well, first, congratulations to Belmont and Coach Bird. I'm playing a tremendous game. They were really, really good last night. But to be honest, that's probably the most devastated locker room I've been in, to where, you had to wait probably 5-10 minutes to try to even gather them all together. And my words were really, really short. Then we just prayed, and then I had to move on to my media obligations. And I just sent the guys a long text when I got back to the hotel room that night. I'm just explaining that wasn't the right time for the words because everybody was so choked up and emotional. But I did tell our couple seniors is you can't let 9.3 seconds define what these guys did and how these guys grew and how they represented our program really from December the 1st on.
Steve, I want to get to your case to be in the big dance in just a moment. But first, you guys lose last night. Belmont was the 1 seed last year and lost. A couple years ago, you had a terrific team and lost again to Belmont in an overtime game there. Should everything in a season, should the NCAA bid come down to a 3-day conference tournament?
I'm okay from a standpoint. I love March Madness. I grew up on it, love it, eat, sleep, and live and dream it. So I'm okay with that. I really am. What our league has to do is we've got to figure out a way to where we get in the NCAA tournament now as that at-large team. If we would have beat Belmont that year in 2013, that they get in. If Tennessee State beat us in 2012, that we get in. You shouldn't have to win 30 games. You look at – we've got a Hall of Fame coach in our league. You look at the precedent in our league, what our league has done over the last 5-6 years from non-conference wins to NCAA tournament wins to other postseason wins to NBA players. It's been a remarkable run. And to be honest, if you broke down conferences, probably a lot better than some of the elite mid-majors.
Yeah, no question about it. You're 27-5, but yet a lot of bracketologists have your team on the outside looking in after last night's loss. What would you say to them as to why the Racers should be in?
I think the first thing, and I got it all wrote down right here in front of me, is, we're 2-4 in November, and you've got to look at the makeup of our basketball team. Jonathan Farrell's out all preseason up into the very first game with basically a hip injury that is rarely seen, to where you literally could not work out. So he came into the year playing totally out of shape and was playing 8 to 10 minutes a game. And you can see now, watching our game last night, the physical force he is. He's a double-figure rebounder, a 8-point type guy for us. And what had happened is, because of his injury, our depth was so poor up front, because the first game against Houston, Tyler Rambo, one of our more experienced front-court guys, coming back, was out with an academic degree plan appeal. And then Wayne Langston, who, if you watched us in conference play the second half of conference, was getting 7, 8, 9 rebounds a game and giving us really quality minutes. He had to graduate from junior college this summer, so he came in and he wasn't going to be ready to January. And then Justin Seymour, who had a terrific year for a sophomore, he was basically a freshman after sitting out last year and not playing much at Utah. So, this team had to go through some growing pains, understanding roles, identifying roles. And then from December the 1st on, for 3 months, we didn't lose a basketball game. And within that, we beat teams like Belmont, Eastern Kentucky, Evansville, where Northern Iowa couldn't win, Illinois State, who just beat Wichita State and beat Old Dominion. And then we also beat Western Kentucky, who went on the road and beat Ole Miss, as somebody that they've got as an 8-9 seed. And so my biggest argument is, could the BCS 5, 6, 7, 8 teams take our schedule and win 25 games in a row? And that means being in our leagues. That means coming to Murray and beating Murray here and beating Murray at home as well. Could they do that? And when you break down schedules, look at the BCS teams when they're playing the low to mid-major teams on their home floor. Are they winning all those games? Because that's the teams supposedly everybody says we're beating in this streak.
That's the resume on paper. I was sitting next to an NBA scout last night who told me, how in the world would this team not be in based off the eye test? How much should the eye test matter to the selection committee?
Well, I think basketball really needs to start looking towards the direction football's going, where you've got people watching games every week. And something we talked about where you're talking regional, people watching regional games every week from the mid-major to the high major leagues, to where they can say, this team is really, really good. And that's not the first NBA scout that said that. And just because an NBA scout says that doesn't mean you're going to go 31-1. But 27-5 and going 25-1 in your last 26 games, once you've got your team complete and bought in, that's pretty good basketball. And so there's no question. I mean, Seth Greenberg, Doug Gottlieb, guys that have followed, coached, played this game, they understand that we're an NCAA tournament team. But there's case studies out there for us. Iona back in I think 2012, they were a 14 seed. They got to play in game with BYU when we were in the regional with Marquette. Marquette beat BYU, and then we played Marquette after beating Colorado State. You've got hands-on knowledge like Keith Schroyer at Martin that says you're a top 2 team in the Mountain West. I've spent my whole last 6, 7, 8 years in the Mountain West. So I don't think without question that we belong in. Hopefully the eye test, and I heard on CBS today that they will take the eye test into consideration.
To me, the first 4 was created exactly for cases like your team. A powerful schedule during the regular season in terms of what you did, but not winning the automatic bid. If your team gets in, Steve, how dangerous could they be?
Well, I think we could be as dangerous as everybody maybe outside is Kentucky, Wisconsin, Virginia, some of the 4, 5, 6 elite teams in college basketball, because the parity across the board is tremendous. Because when you really pull up some of these resumes, teams only have about 2 or 3 so-called quality wins. When ESPN pops up so-and-so from the SEC, because I don't want to talk certain schools because that's not right, but so-and-so from the ACC, well, look what they see. There's not 6 or 8 quality wins. There's 2 or 3 quality wins. And so there's not that big of a disparity between the teams. And so I think we could do a lot of damage. Obviously, matchups so important in the NCAA tournament, so you never know about that. But the one thing, when people have played Murray, and Rick Bird said it, and I don't know if he said it in the interview in the interview after the game, but he said to me, you deserve to be in. I really hope you get in. I'll be pulling for you guys to get in. And that's a guy who's been doing it a long time and beating a lot of good teams now in conference.
You guys deserve a good, long, hard look at the very least. But no matter what happens, it's going to be a celebratory week in the Prohm household. New baby boy coming up this week. Coach, congratulations on that as well.
Oh, thanks so much. It puts it all in perspective. For having our first child, my wife's been unbelievable through this season. And, we're going to start inducing her Tuesday night, and hopefully we'll have the baby boy sometime between Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They say it could take between 2 and 3 days. And really, really looking forward to that. I'm really excited about that.
Talk about March Madness. Coach, you're the best. We appreciate the time tonight.
All right, thanks, Steve. Appreciate you.
Steve Prohm, we certainly appreciate the time for him right after what was a devastating loss. And hopefully some really good news in the Prohm household in the next 24 to 48 hours. As you heard, his wife Katie is headed to the hospital probably about right now to deliver young Cass Prohm into the world over the next couple of days. So that will be a cool moment for sure. Take some of the sting away from the loss this weekend. And hopefully on Sunday they get good news from the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee when the brackets are unveiled. And I think they have a better case than a lot of people have made them out to. I think a lot of people just look at the numbers and see that they haven't played many games against the top 50 or the top 100 in the RPI and think that is just a death sentence for Murray State. But I think, as you mentioned in there, when you talk to people who really know basketball, who watch this team, they look like an NCAA tournament team. They look like a team that would be scary to face in the NCAA tournament. And that should mean something in that selection committee room up there in Indianapolis for the rest of the week. And if it doesn't, then we need to re-examine the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee. And that's something that I've talked about for a while, and Steve alluded into there. College football, at least, is putting former coaches and people who are really tied to the sport on its selection committee for the most part. Obviously, you got Condoleezza Rice and some other people in there that maybe don't have firsthand ties to the sport. But you got a lot of former coaches. Barry Alvarez, Tom Osborne, people like that have been around the sport for a long time, and that committee really leans on their expertise in terms of what they see, the eye test of the teams that they see out there. That has to be a part of this college basketball tournament. It really needs to, because otherwise it's not an apples and apples comparison when you're talking about a team like Murray State in a non-power conference and compare them to Indiana, a team with a brand name in a power conference that just frankly gets more chances for the marquee wins. But I'll tell you what, the way the two teams are playing right now, I think Murray State beats Indiana if they play tomorrow. And a lot of people think right now Indiana's in the tournament and Murray State's out. That should mean something there. A big part of it is what you've accomplished. A big part of it is the resume and what you have done to earn it. But a big part of it just has to be who's better if you toss the ball up in the air right now and say, go play. And I think if you put that test on Murray State, they pass. They've passed it 27 times this year, including 25 in a row, until Taylor Barnett hits an incredible shot to win that game on Saturday night. And here's the thing, too. Murray State didn't play bad in that game. Credit to Belmont for how well they played in one of the best games we've seen in college basketball this year. Murray State played well. They played hard. Unfortunately, they just weren't able to get it done. We've got to take our final break here. We will be back with more right after this.